positive news for a Thunder Bay youth who experienced medical distress over the weekend. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. A 13-year-old boy who nearly drowned Saturday at the Art Widnall Pool is alert and speaking. That's according to the latest update from his mother, who is by his side as the young teen receives treatment at a Southern Ontario hospital. Lee Noonan has been following the story and joins us in studio. Lee.
Thanks, Haley. Police are investigating the incident that led to the boy's hospitalization, and they're making an appeal to the public, asking everyone who was at the pool Saturday evening and may have witnessed the incident to come forward. A local boy who was airlifted to London following a near drowning at the Art Widnall Pool Saturday evening is now talking. That's according to his mother. But despite a lighthearted post saying 13-year-old Kevin was up and asking for donuts and screen time, Jenny Peliquin says her son has had nightmares about the incident and that he remembers being beat up and pushed into the water. Kevin was rescued from the pool by city lifeguards, which is generally a student summer job.
Our lifeguards at Widnall Pool conducted a rescue in response to a medical emergency. I really can't speak to any details, but we are providing support to those individuals from a stressful situation.
According to EMS, Kevin had a decreased level of consciousness when paramedics arrived on scene. He had aspirated liquid and his airways required suction, with paramedics assessing his condition at the highest level of urgency and severity. Paramedics also reported hearing multiple conflicting stories on the scene when trying to assess what happened. Meanwhile, city police are working to establish just that, a clear picture of the events leading to Kevin's near drowning. The Major Crimes and Forensic Identification Unit are involved in the investigation. They're looking for eyewitnesses to come forward and urging the public to avoid speculation, saying it could interfere with the investigation. The city is also conducting its own internal investigation in order to understand and address all aspects of the incident.
The safety and well-being of our staff and our patrons is our priority. We are providing support to the staff that were involved in the rescue, and our thoughts are with the patron and their family, and we are very hopeful for a speedy recovery for them.
Kevin was transferred from the hospital here for specialized treatment in a London, Ontario facility. A GoFundMe set up to support the family and offset their travel costs has raised more than $30,000 so far. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Thunder Bay City Council is being asked to ratify its new plan to address homeless encampments at tonight's meeting, albeit with some amendments when it comes to distance guidelines. City staff are now recommending that tents not be set up within 5 meters of any river or railway. Policy and research analyst Riley Willinen says these new rules are meant to quell safety concerns.
So some folks might feel that it's an issue because of the proximity to the water and the risk of falling in. Other folks might think that the safety issue is actually if there's, say, a fire or something that happens, you need to have quick access to water. So there's a couple different, I think, safety concerns depending on who you're asking. We've definitely heard from folks that are living in encampments that they want some sort of information that they can have on their fingertips. Also, people from the community want that same information, so we're working on a communications plan.
These rules would be added to the other distance guidelines that councillors agreed on at the last meeting, like not allowing encampments within 20 meters of any private property lines. If it's all approved, the city will begin working to voluntarily move residents whose tents don't meet the guideline criteria. Some members of the 55 Plus Centre are expressing outrage at the increase in fees that will soon be in place. Starting in September, the cost per activity will raise from $2 to $3. A group of members met with the board chair this afternoon to voice their concerns. Jessica Clement has the details.
Fees at the 55 Plus Centre will be raised by $1 this September, meaning members will soon have to pay $3 per activity. Numerous members met up with board chair Lori Forbes Monday afternoon to voice their concerns about the increase. They said one of their concerns is that it'll affect seniors on a fixed income.
It doesn't make sense to increase that. People make comments all the time. What's the big deal, $1? Well, count how many times they come here in a week. That adds up. And those are people that live on limited income. They had to quit eating here because they boost the price.
These people are just going to stay away, stay in their home, be isolated, and we're going to have, it's bad.
Forbes notes this is the first time in 10 years that the fees have increased. She says that increased costs and insurance issues have caused them to make the decision.
We ended up with a $10,500 deficit at the end of last year. And because of that, we were looking at ways to move forward. And then on top of that, we realized we had an insurance issue. Our insurance carrier would not cover 4 of our activities. They had to be covered by independent insurance. However, they needed a waiver, and we have no way to monitor a waiver. That would be up to the volunteers, and that's not fair to put a volunteer in a position where they could be held legally accountable for a waiver.
When asked if the city could somehow help out with the fees, Forbes says while they can ask, she's not sure if the city will be able to do that.
When this center was built, the idea was there would be this main board, which is us, the food board, which is a cafe, and then the city-run programming. So we exist within a building and work together symbiotically to create this center and provide all the activities and programming that it does. But everybody has their lane to stay in. So the city programming has nothing to do with us.
Some 55-plus members have suggested more fundraising to keep the costs low.
We need to fundraise. The main board need to do their job. They need to find other ways. They need to say, hey, you know what? Maybe each card group, do your own fundraising, try to help these people, or the people who can't afford it. Maybe the center should look at that, have their name, and not be charged at all.
The board will continue having feedback meetings about the change. The fees are supposed to increase on September 1st. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
As the LCBO workers' strike reaches its 10th day, restaurants and bars are beginning to be impacted. CTV's John Musselman brings us more.
The 2 go because the 1 is empty.
Striking workers know if restaurants and bars can't be restocked, it puts more pressure on the government. That's why they are keeping these resupply trucks stuck in the parking lot of this LCBO warehouse.
This is where restaurants and bars get provided. Right now, we're on the side of the road preventing trucks from coming in and trucks from going out.
Today, Peel police were called in when security complained the trucks were not being allowed out. This driver explains what's been going on here for the past week.
Most of the trucks are loaded. They're just not letting us go out. They usually let us out around 4 in the afternoon when it's too late to do any deliveries. So we end up just going back home.
After talking to police, it was agreed that 1 truck would be allowed to pass the picket line about every hour, but it is far from business as usual. As this was all playing out on the picket line, the province announced it will speed up plans to bring more beer and ready-to-drink spirits to 450 grocery stores beginning this Thursday. It accelerates the government's plan by 2 weeks. Quote, "This is an important milestone for grocery retailers and consumers alike as we continue our work modernizing Ontario's alcohol marketplace." Premier Doug Ford says this is about giving the people of Ontario more choice, and he blames the union leadership for the ongoing strike.
They need to come to the table. We put the LCBO put an offer on the table. We have yet to see the leadership of OPSU come to the table.
The union fired back today, accusing the government of bad faith bargaining. Quote, "The bargaining team is prepared to return to the bargaining table as soon as it is clear that Ford and the LCBO are prepared to bargain in good faith, a future that will protect good jobs, protect public revenues, as well as create more stable and permanent jobs." Meanwhile, there is concern mounting in the restaurant industry. The summer months are a critical revenue period.
It's dramatically impacting us, and it's really frustrating. These are hardworking, independent business owners that have been through an incredibly challenging time in the last 4 or 5 years. This is disrupting our supply chain that is so critical. We have 14,000 businesses that are dependent on alcohol sales. It's a key part of their revenue.
And we spotted these empty alcohol shelves today at 2 large retail and grocery store outlets in Etobicoke. The government backed away from a plan to reopen 32 LCBO outlets on July 19th. Instead, it will effort to resupply bars through online orders. Still, those orders need to be delivered by truck.
That was John Musselman reporting, and it appears Thunder Bay would have had one of those 32 LCBO locations that were supposed to open this Friday. As mentioned, those plans have been scrapped. Joel Mendelson was at the picket line on West Arthur Street today and has local reaction to the latest developments.
The LCBO posted a statement on its website Sunday, saying they've decided to prioritize online retail sales rather than reopening the 32 planned locations for the purpose of improving its service to bars and restaurants. A store in Thunder Bay was apparently among the 32 listed. However, this latest announcement likely means that the LCBO retail stores will remain closed until the strike has been resolved.
It certainly shows that they're caving. They're realizing that they can't run the LCBOs, the 32 locations, with just the management alone. They're realizing that that's just not on the table for them.
The sentiment remains at the picket lines of wanting to get back to the bargaining table, especially after the government announced that they would not be reopening LCBOs for retail as was originally scheduled. Instead, they will be opening just for industry like hotels, bars, and restaurants.
It's not about us. It's not about our contract. It's protecting the LCBO for now and the future based on what Ford's doing with the fast tracking of retail and making it more convenient and taking it out of the hands of us employees.
This is the second time since the strike began that the LCBO has walked back plans to open stores after it canceled the reopening of 5 locations last Wednesday. As of Friday, negotiations have broken off and there is no end to the work stoppage in sight.
The employer is fast-tracking what they were originally going to fast-track. And listen, we're doing a job out here. We're ready to work when the LCBO bargaining team can go back to the table and bargain respectfully to us and talk about our issues.
Joel Mendelson, TBT News.
Local MP Patty Hajdu, who also serves as the Indigenous Services Minister, says the federal government is ready to support Fort William First Nation. That comes after the community declared a state of emergency in response to the worsening drug crisis. Hajdu hasn't met with Chief Michelle Solomon yet, but says that'll happen as soon as possible. Fort William First Nation has called for a detox or treatment center to be set up to support its community members. Hajdu says that could be looked into, but spoke today about what she believes are more immediate supports.
It's for mental health and substance use related problems, so we can send in additional supports. There can be additional resources dedicated to the community, depending on what the community itself wants to provide to its members. We certainly are willing to work with any community on any kind of treatment plan or program.
Fort William First Nation officials say the declaration will remain in effect until conditions improve. Atikokan residents are finally able to breathe a sigh of relief now that they have answers as to whether or not the local OPG station's energy contract will be extended. That revelation, along with another major energy project coming to the region, are creating a positive outlook for the community. Justin Hardy has more.
The town of Atikokan is excited to have an answer on whether or not the contract for the Ontario Power Generation Station near the municipality will be extended. The biomass power plant represents over 1/3 of the town's tax base, and the producer of the pellets used in the station is also situated in Atikokan. Mayor Rob Ferguson, who retired from his longtime career at OPG in January, says they have received word from the province that the contract will be extended.
They haven't put pen to paper and sealed the deal yet, but they have made an announcement that it's going to be 5 years, and it's going to be very similar to what the contract looked like for the original 10. So it's great for the town of Atikokan, but as I said before, once the deal is signed for 5 years, then we start working on the next one for sure.
The OPG station is a major source of employment for the municipality, and while the contract isn't 10 years like the town wanted, it still brings many Atikokan residents a sigh of relief.
We can talk about it and then it's going to go forward, but until it's actually announced and the deal's done, then there's always people that aren't gonna believe it till it's done. So it's a relief for the town of Atikokan. I imagine it's a relief for the people that work at the generating station. And it's just good for the town.
Another power project will soon be boosting the town as well. The $1.2 billion Waasigan transmission line project is getting close to beginning construction. Ferguson hopes that Atikokan's central position along the power line will make the town a hub for energy along with construction activity.
It's a 3 or 4 year project from start to finish, and it's going to be a good boom for the town of Atikokan. And we've got a project going on at the Mackenzie station right now, moving a transformer that's going to supply the town of Atikokan, and people are excited about that. That's only a sliver of what the actually Waasigan line is going to bring to the town, so it's very exciting for the town.
Ferguson says that Hydro One is a great tenant for the town, and he's looking forward to further opportunities that could arise from the project. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Scriber OPP are reporting a scary collision last Friday between a motorcycle and a moose. It happened near Blackbird Creek on Highway 17 at around 2:30 in the afternoon. Along with police, Terrace Bay Fire Crews and Superior North EMS responded to the crash. The motorcyclist, a 74-year-old man from Kaministiquia, was transported to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. OPP are encouraging motorists to be mindful of wildlife along roads and highways. An age-old tradition returned to Murillo this weekend as the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Musical Ride performed at the fairground for the first time since 2013. The shows brought out hundreds of spectators who were eager to watch the Mounties and their horses in action. Jessica Clement reports.
For the first time in 11 years, residents had the chance to watch members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police don red, ride a jet black steed, and perform a choreographed routine. The equestrian performance, which has been a tradition since the 1800s, is meant to showcase control, timing, and precision. This year is the 151st anniversary of the RCMP and the 50th anniversary of Women in the Force. And while they celebrate those milestones, the RCMP will be performing 48 shows in Manitoba and Ontario. Saturday and Sunday's show featured 16 horses and riders, which Constable Andrew Briscoe says is less than normal.
If there's a full troop, it's a 32 horse and rider show. This year we are at 16. It's a different show with having fewer riders, but it gives us an opportunity to go with different moves and showcase different skills that different horses may have. So it's a very exciting show to be a part of.
After the performance, visitors had the chance to meet with RCMP officers and their horses. We asked some attendees what they enjoyed most about the show.
I wish I could remember all the names of the moves, but probably the ones where they were like threading the needle and interweaving in the middle. It was really impressive. I've never seen anything like it before.
When them turn into like a pinwheel.
Oh, it was amazing. Never seen anything like it. My uncle emigrated here a number of years ago, and so I knew about Mounties from a very young age, so to see them was amazing, and the show was great.
The Murillo Fairgrounds saw around 1,000 people each day, and Oliver Agricultural Society President Lindsay Kozlowski says it's overwhelming to see so much support from the community.
Even with the hot weather warning, we had great crowds, great participation. We are very blessed to have such great community support. People always show up for the Oliver Agricultural Society and the Murillo Fair, and we're always super grateful.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Not one, but two lucky Thunder Bay residents were blown away by their recent OLG lottery winnings. Monique Thomas says she nearly fell off her chair when she saw she'd won the top prize of $250,000 with the Neon Casino ticket purchased at Safeway on Arthur Street. Meanwhile, another Thunder Bay resident, Thomas Inman, says he went numb and froze when he won $100,000 with the Instant Gold Pursuit ticket that had been sitting on his coffee table for weeks. That ticket was bought at the Northwood Shoppers Drug Mart. Well, it's great to see some luck in Thunder Bay, but they weren't the only lucky ones, as we received a little bit of luck from the relief of the heat we had over the weekend. With it, though, came some rain again.
Yes, it was definitely nice to get a bit of a break from all of that heat, all of that humidity, although it did come with some dry thunder and lightning overnight, and then today, well, a fair amount of rain moving in from southern Manitoba and the northern states. If we take a look at what happened today, you can see it building in, and it's still being felt in Thunder Bay for the next couple of hours and in areas along the North Shore. But today we did manage to top out with a high of 20. A low of 13, so a little below normal for this time of year. If we get kind of happy medium would be nice. I think that's what we'd like to see. But winds were very light. Northwest, about 3 kilometers per hour is where it started the day. And then it came around from the east in the last few hours at about 10 kilometers with those few showers this afternoon. Now, at this hour, we've got mostly cloudy skies to the west. Temperatures pretty close to the daytime highs in Red Lake, Sioux Lookout, Kenora, Dryden, Fort Francis. They all topped out at around 22, 23 Celsius this afternoon after an overnight low of 16. Definitely cooler in Pickle Lake at 16 at this hour. Upsala and Armstrong at 18, 17 in Greenstone. They've had periodic showers this afternoon. Along the North Shore, similar temperatures. And Sault Ste. Marie has been mostly cloudy. They're still under that dome of heat that has brought a lot of high humidex levels. And the humidex actually topped out at 35 this afternoon. Right now, it's a little cooler. It feels like 32, so still quite hot and sticky on the eastern shores of Lake Superior. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we will drop down to a low of 13 tonight. Could see a few more showers as we are currently experiencing, but that rain is going to end sometime over the next couple of hours, and then we'll be left with just a 30% chance of showers, maybe a risk of a thunderstorm. Winds will continue to be light, and then it's still going to be iffy for another day or so. But the nice thing is we're not going right back to those high humidex levels. We're going to enjoy that break for another day or two, and then it'll start to warm up again. So we're not done with summer by a long shot.
No, well, that's good to hear. A little break, but still summer is, I think, what everyone wants to hear.
Always good news.
Thank you, Fiona. Well, we turn to national news now, where more details are being released on the shocking attempted assassination of former President of the U.S., Donald Trump. We'll have those details after the break.
An independent review of the incident will be conducted, one that will examine the Secret Services and other law enforcement actions